Hi guys, welcome. Just kidding, we're not going to do that here. Not at all, not one bit. But I was reading these books and they said you should move the camera towards your face a lot. No, they did not. They didn't say that, but welcome. This is V-Belt & Son behind the scenes. I'm waiting for your guys' current video to upload. So I'm going to remind you, it is Christmas season. You should be out buying gifts for your loved one. Ladies, you watching this video with your man, or vice versa. Men watching these videos with your ladies. Yeah, that works. VBeltandSon.com, fully restocked inventory. We got the new logo on the, well, not the new logo, but it's new hat patch design thing. It is way cleaner than the old one, so it is a big upgrade. Plus, it is a cold season. Get yourself a jacket. Also, cold season item, tumbler. Oh, they hold it better than that normally. Keychains, t-shirts, and I have a bunch of extra hats that I've collected with every company I've kind of done work with on this channel. Quite frankly, I got way too many hats that I could wear, so what I'm going to do to you guys is every order you guys purchase, I'm going to throw in either extra V-Belt & Son merchandise, or I'm going to throw in, perhaps you like Rotobeck, you like Mechalek, Buckstop, a bunch of, what do you got, B&W hitches, all kinds of stuff in there. I'm going to throw in a little bit of extra goodie in each one of the packages through Christmas while supplies last. So check out VBeltandSon.com. Enjoy the video. Well, good morning, guys. If there's one place that you'll run into me if you ever came to my little town here, it would be at the freaking fuel station. We're back out here again, dropping off a new machine. And we got bolt drill guns today. Those are for undoing the binders. If I got two of those, that means we're going to be doing some hauling. Got to get some fuel, and we're going to talk about gear ratio and towing and stuff like that today. So my game plan right now is we just finished up 2 parts of a big job, and they might add us on for a 3rd part of it. But they got to call fire people, we got to make sure we can cross a stream, some other power companies taking down the trees, and we're going to be cleaning up the mess and skidding the logs because we got the equipment for it. So we are going to be hauling out of that job, one machine, and hauling into another job, but I got to pick up 2 other machines from different places. I have the new track chipper behind the truck right now. You guys see a video on that later on. So we're going to be doing a little bit of trucking. We'll be going all around town pretty much. And I wanted to talk about gear ratio because that's like one of the biggest things people always harp on me about in the comments when I'm talking about towing this and towing that, and what the ideal gear ratio is. And obviously, if I'm towing day in and day out, I got a pretty good idea of what's a good gear ratio for towing. Now, when you're looking at gear ratio, you got to find something that's going to meet medium ground. Like this truck is a little bit, like it's pretty spot on for what I do because I don't do very much highway miles. I'm just on the local freeway right now. I've been on it for all of about 3 miles. And I had to drop down to 5th gear for that hill and pulled it at 50 miles an hour. Technically, the speed limit in California while I'm towing a trailer is 55 miles an hour. When you're thinking, ooh, we got a lot of cars right here. What the heck? What's everybody doing here? Traffic jam. This one light right here sucks. But we're going to turn right, so maybe we'll catch a break. When you're looking at gear ratios, have something that's going to fit what you're looking for, first of all. But you want to be able to take off smooth, easy, effortless on the truck. By doing that, you need a lower gear ratio. So most trucks will come with 373s or 354s. That's a good highway gear with a little bit of towing room in there. But a big problem if you're towing and your gear ratio is too high and not low enough, you'll find taking off is going to be a big deal. It's going to be a lot of strain on everything. But like this truck with 444s, it can take off pretty dang much anywhere and it doesn't really care. Okay, first drop. That's how I can drive this thing. How cool is that? Alrighty, just dropped off the first machine. We're gonna go get the 080, which got to track it out of a job kind of far because I can't turn around. Log's in the way. Now that I got a second, let's go ahead and talk about the topic of the video. People get mad when I stretch those out and put it there at the end, but how about that track chipper, huh guys? I am looking forward to using that bad boy, that's for sure. It'll be a completely different video, but look forward to it because I am. Let's go ahead and get this ramp dropped. I gotta go way down there and go get the 080. I'm perfectly centered. It's okay because this thing's not as wide as a freaking track chipper. That thing was, the trailer's 102 wide. So is the track chipper, 102 inches wide. Look at that bad girl right there. Love the setup. Let's go get this one dropped off. Out of there, Andy, the guy we work with, he's headed back to that job to look at those 9 trees they're adding to get them to sign proposal for those. So hopefully all goes well with that, but either way, that's an add-on, and we're headed out with the 080 to this other job. We'll be on about a week. Gotta click her up another one. Exhaust brake and engine brake down this steep little hill. I wanted to find gear ratios and stuff like that for towing because they are, you know, they're pretty big. Make or break kind of a thing. And every video I talk about with gear ratio, somebody always comparing something, somebody always wants to harp on me saying I'm, you know, I got stuff's not accurate, whatever. Just dropped off the excavator, quick drop, turned around, turned and burned. We're going to go get the skid steer. I like getting all the towing done today rather than having to do some towing in the morning. It's easier to get it all done today. Gear ratio, everybody overlooks it, but then everybody talks about it at the same time. It's obvious that it makes a difference in your towing, your highway speed. Gear ratio is a big factor when you're driving these trucks. You know, fast lane truck, those guys, I don't think I've seen a video where they talked about what gear ratio each one of the trucks has versus the next. And I'm sure they got their comment section lit up just as mine do when I compare trucks in towing competition kind of things. Like the first video I did, 5.9 versus 6.7 Cummins. People were on my case because I forgot to mention the gear ratio. The final drive ended up being about 10% difference. 10% lower difference for my 5500 versus my 3500 5.9. And everything kind of plays into, you know, it's just not your rear end gear ratio, but your transmission's got its own ratios as well as tire size comes into play. It's just cut and dry as everybody's like, oh, you need to get rid of, you know, you need to have 410s across the board. But your typical towing gear ratio, for the longest time, it seems like it's been 410s or 411s. That's what everybody calls them, which is basically a 4-to-1 gear ratio. Back in the early days, like, well, for instance, like even our log truck has 410s. Log truck's got it. every single high output max tow Ram 3500 comes with 410 gear ratios. You can get higher or lower gear ratios for those, but for towing, 410s is a very good universal gear, especially in today's standards with transmissions and stuff. But when I did the Ram 3500 with 410s versus Tow Piglet's Ford that had probably 355s, people were jumping, because that's, you know, 20-30% difference or whatever in gear ratio. Well, the Ford had a 10-speed automatic versus the Dodge with a 6-speed. Basically, where your gear ratio is make or break kind of thing is when you're taking off loaded, or your highway speed, your top gear, how much RPM you got versus, you know, a good cruising speed. And the 410, it hits on both those with the new Isin. Well, the new-ish Isin, it's kind of old now. So you're able to maintain a good highway speed. You run about 2,000 RPM at 70 mile an hour, which is a good, comfortable speed. And you still had your 410, so taking off while you're towing was nice and easy. But with the 355s that the Ford had, people were on my case because they didn't like that, because the gear ratio is different. It was going to give you different effects on your towing. But the 10-speed has such a bigger margin between first and high gear. It's got little in between and all that stuff. It was a little slow taking off, but coming down hills, your exhaust brake is going to be the same, because if instead of taking it in 4th gear with the 410s, you can take it in 3rd gear with the Ford with the 355s. And to explain how gear ratio, like a 410 is pretty much a 4-to-1 gear ratio. Imagine like a 400-pound person pushing on a 100-pound person. The 400-pounder is going to win, and it's going to do it with ease. 300-pound person, a 3-to-1, is still going to be pushing on that 100-pound person. It's not going to have as much power as the big person, just power to weight ratio, or just, you know. But when it goes down to 1-to-1, it's going to be a pretty even battle. And then when you want overdrive, your drive gear will be smaller than, are these people going to make up their mind? Your drive gear will be smaller than your driven gear. But like this truck I'm driving right now, I can sacrifice some highway speed because I mainly run around town. I ran this morning for 3-4 miles on the highway, which is just like a freeway between two towns. I have 444 gear ratio, so basically it's 4.5 big people, or 450-pound guy pushing on one person. I have a lot of power down in the bottom where it counts taking off, but my highway speed is limited. I max out at like 70, 75. I run out of gearing and run out of RPMs. But where 410s, I would have another, you know, 10% ballpark more gear to go, but then I would lose 10% taking off on the line. I like this truck for what I'm doing because it's got the 19.5, so the tires are kind of bigger. It works out real well. But the final drive versus my 373 truck, now I gotta tell you guys, I own many of these trucks, all of which are all different gear ratio, 354, 373, 410, 444. I am in a toss-up between my next truck going 488s with the 5500s or going with another 444s, because I'll tell you, this truck, when you run out of RPM and gearing, when you're doing a little highway pull driving, you know, if you got to pass somebody real quick, get around some sketchy person swerving or whatever, or there's a Ford behind you, you just run out of RPM, and, you know, 70 mile an hour is pretty much like the given speed limit everywhere nowadays, no matter what the posted marker is. That's just the flow of traffic. And this thing just runs out of gear at 444. But with the 6-speed Isin, I would be doing a little better than that with the same gear ratio. Just transmissions make a big difference. And I really got to harp on that because I know the transmissions make a difference because I've driven these trucks and I can see what they do. But I would say hands down the best tow option currently for the Dodge, if you're going to go with a 3500 and you still want to do highway speeds, like I'll get out in the desert and I can run 85 fairly comfortably. My RPMs are going to be singing just a little bit with the 410s, but it's not enough to sacrifice my low end grunt, because when I do tow, I'd rather have that low end power rather than the occasional needed highway extra speed. So 410s are your good average combination one. I would say you can't really go wrong with that with a 3500. I know with that 10 speed in the Ford, that makes a big difference. Some people were saying you didn't need to go with the low gear ratio anymore, because the 10 speed, it just had such a low first gear, and it made up for it with the double overdrive and stuff like that. Distance stuff. This truck would be terrible for long distance. I've done a couple 1,000-mile round trips with it, and when you're empty, I can run about 14 miles a gallon, doing about 75. That's out of California. That ain't, you know, marked speed limits here. That was the best I've ever seen it do. But on average, it runs around 10 miles to the gallon. If I had taller gears, I'm sure that would improve, but not enough that I'm willing to sacrifice the ability to take off the line comfortably with 30,000 pounds behind the truck. Got me a backup camera now. Doesn't really help for backing up a trailer, but it helps for backing up to the trailer. So we just skid steer. Hopefully that long-winded gear ratio spiel kind of made sense to you guys. But it's like if you get a Jeep and you put big tires on it. Your gear ratio went up, so you got taller, you got longer legs. That's literally how it works. If you got long legs, you got taller gears. So what you end up doing is having to swap out the gears and rear end, which you can do. Some stuff is easier to swap the gearing out than others, but it could be done. Anything can be done with money, I tell you that. But for towing, I'd say it's a safe bet to do your research. Make sure you can get something that you're gonna be happy with, because if you buy a brand new truck and your gearing's too tall for towing, you're probably gonna be burning up stuff pretty quick. You got a tall gear, you're pushing on the throttle, transmission's just getting hotter and hotter. It's not ideal. Look at this old Sailor. I don't even remember the last time we used this thing. I have been using it not with the mulcher on it, so I'm not even hooked up. But had it on different job running the pallet forks, moving the building around. Gosh dang. Should have went in front of that guy. He was going slow and he had a bunch of cars behind him. Just like that. Here we go. I was hoping to make it back by 11. That'd be an hour round trip, maybe.
I wanted to point out how well the truck took off, pulling up onto the highway, pulling this trailer with the 12 on there. Remind you, the 12 does weigh about, with the mulcher head on it, just a touch over 15.5, maybe 16,000 pounds with the extra gear and stuff we got on it. And then the trailer weighs around 8, so you do the math, around 24,000 pounds. It pulled it up on there with ease. In the next clip, after the two dogs get done attacking each other, I'm going to show you my 04, an older truck by today's standards, 6-speed manual transmission with 373s. Now, how the 373s versus this truck with 444s, I've had a '06 Dodge that had 410s, and the final drive with this truck versus my 410 truck worked out about the same. You could run maxed out with all your RPMs was about 80 mile an hour. So when I say it's about a 10% difference final drive, tire size, and everything like that, that's what I'm talking about. I'm comparing it to an older truck that I had, which was 410s that also had a G56 manual transmission. But like you'll see, my 04, it has 373s and a NV5600 6-speed manual transmission. So transmissions all around.
This is my 04. It's a single wheel 3500 with similar characteristics. It's a 6-speed manual transmission, but it's got the 373 gear ratio. I have a dump trailer. This is the truck I mainly tow the dump trailer with. Got a decent little load of oak. You can always tell that guy's it's a big guy. I just put it on there so it doesn't look as gnarly. It's 14K trailer, so I probably have real close to about 13,000 pounds behind the truck. And I'll show you guys how well it tows with 373s. It's comparable, but I would say that's about all I like towing with this one. I'll tow a little bit more. I've towed 25,000 with this truck before, and the gearing really sucks. It just is not good enough for towing that kind of weight. It's slipping the clutch, taking off on hills is terrible. The other truck is quite a bit better, but I'll get a clip of this towing down the road. All right, we're on the road. This actually might be like 15,000 pounds behind the truck. It's a little bit heavy. I judge this trailer by how much the tires are squatting. And after scaling out the gravel plants and stuff like that, it looks like about 15,000 with the trailer. Now I go down this hill, people would be complaining because, well, your gear ratio is high, so your engine brake's not working as good. Check this out. Drop a hole, obviously your gear ratio and your rear end's still the same, but your transmission is making the difference. I'm not going to sit here and say that 373s are your best towing gear, especially for this truck. It is a very good, highway gear, and if you're going to do a little bit of towing, this works out great. Like I said, I've towed heavy with this. It's all right. The fact that it's a single rear wheel 3500 makes it for not the greatest. Even if it was a dually, the 373s are a little bit long-legged for at least this transmission anyway. I think 410s is the towing gear to go with. I just want to talk about this truck just for a little bit for the people that might be new to the channel. This was like my first truck that I built to tow because at the time, towing these kind of loads is all I needed. Like a 4,000 pound trailer with like a 12,000 pound machine on there. That was the max I planned on doing. So a single wheel 3500 fit the bill perfectly because it can tow it. I know it can tow it. It can tow more of it. I've towed it for years, but it doesn't stand out like a dually DOT kind of thing. It's like undercover. It's got the overloads. I got airbags on it. It's a 6-speed stick shift. I've turned up the power a little bit. It's got different fuel, but it has a aftermarket exhaust brake on it. So this thing handles this just fine, despite having 373s. I did have the same exact truck as this, but with 410s, and some days I wish I would have kept it instead of this one. But at the time, this was kind of like my highway out of town truck, and now it's just a work truck. But I just wanted to say that, and we'll get back to the video. Oh, brother, these speed bumps on this little road suck. I wanted to talk about how it took off there. You saw it bogged down. With this little bit of load with my 5500, it would not have been like any bog really at all. It just take off. Or like right here, it's gonna bog getting up on here. Come on, baby. But once she builds up some power, then she does fine. Talk about airbags also. People say airbags don't make your truck have higher tow capacity. No, it does not, but it makes it feel and ride a lot better. having a little bit of pressure in there. I only got 50 psi in the bags most of the time. Maybe occasionally I go 50, 60, 70 with the 5500, but this truck 50 psi is plenty for what I haul. Just makes it ride a lot nicer. This load is kind of heavy. I put a jump box on it. I guess my solar panel wasn't exposed to the sun. Let's see how this does. Kind of an awkward load of logs. At this point, this is kind of just bonus footage for you guys. We're a little off subject. Watch this, it's gonna roll over and hit that sideboard right there. I'm gonna lower it down a little bit so it doesn't break that thing off. Well, that was definitely all of the weight I said it was. Didn't hurt the trailer. Couldn't really film it because it's kind of dark, but we're good to go. Back to the main video. Bartle Skeet to everybody. Get it, get it. I apologize, that video was a little bit all over the place when it came to the actual topic of the discussion, but I kind of had a little bit of fun in the editing, jumping you around. People like to get mad if I put the topic of the video towards the end, but the best part of the movie is at the end of the movie. They don't put the cool fight scene in the beginning of Avengers. They put it at the end. Well, Avengers puts a cool fight scene beginning, middle, and end. Anyway, that's off topic. I'm looking forward to another one of those. I'm looking forward to the world turning back on too. Anyway, that's off subject as well. Gear ratio. Hopefully that made sense to you guys. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel. Check out vbeltandson.com. But I wanted to have a good, long-winded rant about gear ratio for people that didn't know the ins and outs of gear ratio. It's fairly simple if you get your idea around it. Because the lower the gear ratio, the better it takes off. The gear can pull a lot stronger. But, you know, it's like, I guess a shorter person with really strong legs. They got a lot of power, a lot of torque, but as soon as they get up to high gear, they don't have much for top speed. So, when it comes to towing, you gotta have that good, happy medium. And boys, I tell you what, I really, really love my 4th gen for having the 6-speed automatic and the 410s. I didn't want 410s, but I wanted max tow when I got that truck. And I went to the dealership, I test drove a bunch of just the regular ones that didn't have max tow, and I loved where the gearing was. And then I got my truck, test drove it, and I was like, it's got, you know, pretty comparable to my 373s and my 04 that you saw on here for highway speed, because I wanted to have mix of towing and highway, you know, out of town. Because you seen I'd taken that truck to Texas and all kinds of stuff. But when I took it for the test drive, I was like, it's got really good highway gear and it's got great take off the line power. I was like, this truck is nice. And if I hadn't had so much money tied up in my 5500, if I didn't have all the stuff under the hood, it wouldn't be any kind of a, you know, it would be simple enough just to get the automatic and just go that route, because they're so much nicer. But I'm loving the 5500. I got 2 more strong years of that thing before California says I can't register it here anymore, and that's fine. I'm getting plenty of life out of that truck. I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to just register it to my property in Nevada, and we'll go on with our happy little lives. That's being if the world turns back on. But comment below what gear ratio you guys prefer, what you tow with. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate that. You guys are true savages, because this was a long talking video. But we'll catch back up with you guys on the next one. For the video, like, comment, subscribe, check out the merchandise. I will be throwing in some extra goodies in every order through Christmas. Thank you very much.